Hello, everyone. And as you know, my name is Zenzi Sewa, and welcome to Spiritual Infinity. And today, my guest is Augusto Bianco, and he's in Argentina. And I said to Augusto, you've got a lot of clothes on there because here in London, the sun is shining. We're at 24. It's getting warmer. Tomorrow it's going to be 30. He said to me, okay, I'm going to speak to you in 6 months' time. It's hot over there and it'll be cold here in London. I thought, okay, because it's their winter. So Augusto Bianco, he's in Argentina and he's a licensed clinical psychiatrist. And as you know, um,
Psychologist.
psychologist, sorry, a licensed clinical psychologist. And as you know, our subject today is about men holding their stress, their frustration. Men have been brought up to be tough, not to express anything, but they're human beings. And the suicide rate for men is increasing because they're holding in this. And this needs to stop. And we need to be able to listen. We need to be able to men to say, yeah, you might be man and macho, but you're a human being. What are you going through? Talk. Because when you bring it out, you can change it, and then you can be the person and function properly as you want to be. So without much ado, I'm taking you over to Augusto in Argentina. Augusto, hello.
Hello, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for taking the time. You're in Argentina. There's 4 hours behind in London. So it's just after 10 o'clock in the morning there and 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. So thank you
Mhm.
for joining us. Augusto, as I've said, um, our subject is about men holding their stress, holding their anxieties, and you've worked with them. So let's hear about you, how you started, your journey, and working with these men. Augusto, it's over to you.
Okay, so my story is interesting because I see myself reflected in a lot of what these guys are going through, what my clients are going through. I remember that when I was a teenager, I didn't have the best relationship with my dad. And so a lot of things that had to do with me being a man, like learning how to date, learning how to fend off for myself, trying to gauge what I wanted to do for the future. I had to deal with that all on my own or using the internet, which is the only place I could use it. I could have it as a refuge and to try to find information about that. And I feel I was lucky enough to find some nuggets of information that were actually high quality compared to, well, all the slop that's out there today. Plus, being surrounded by a good circle of friends that could eventually help me fall into a place where I wanted to be. But I see that a lot of people don't have that luck, that can't find the proper resources, can't connect to people that actually want them to become better, but instead fall into place with people that want to take more out of them, time, energy, money, etc. And they can end up in very hard places, very dark places as well. Like you mentioned, the suicide rates are very high for men compared to women. We're talking about 3 or 4 men committing suicide for every woman that commits suicide. The addiction rates are also through the roof. We're talking, I think we're leading all substance abuse disorders like opium type substances, MDMA type substances, weed, alcohol, tobacco. Like it's crazy. So there definitely needs to be more awareness about this and for people to know that there are actually professionals that can deal with this, have the proper tools, and it isn't something that's going to last for years because that's another big misconception people have coming into therapy. They think that their issues are going to take years to be resolved, when really a lot of them can just be done with in months. I've had, for example, someone that was carrying a addiction to pornography and masturbation since they were 13. They were now in their 30s, and they have tried everything. They have tried medication. They have tried um, retreats. They have tried going cold turkey. They have tried other professionals that weren't properly training, working with men, nothing had worked. We started working, and there's actually a protocol for dealing with pornography addiction in just 12 sessions. It didn't take that long. It just 4 sessions. The person went from masturbating more than 15 times a week to just three. And from then on, we moved down to one or zero. And that blew his mind. And his case is not an outlier. His case is kind of the norm when it comes to drinking alcohol. Yeah.
Let me just stop you there because we're talking about these cases, but you mentioned that you went through, you had to go through some things. Well, you didn't have to, but you did. Can you talk about a bit more about that so that we can connect? Because you're now this doctor, but what were the things that you went through?
Right. So the biggest one for me was dating. I had little to no experience before being 16 years old. I didn't have someone I could talk to. I'm the eldest, so I didn't have an older brother to look up towards. And I was very shy at school. And I had this directive that said that men's worth are based on how many partners they can get, how many women they can get, which is something that we hear a lot still, sadly.
Yeah.
But to 15, 16-year-old me, that was like crucial. That was the most important thing in the world. And it was just hitting wall after wall after wall, trying to learn how to socialize, how to flirt, how to recognize if someone was interested in me or not, how to not overthink, how to deal with anxiety, how to not stutter, how to stop being fat because my body was not the best. And having to spend just, I remember spending a lot of weekends on my own looking at early social media and seeing my classmates going out, meeting with people, imagining about all the women they were meeting. Yes.
Yeah, something you just said, how to not stutter and your weight.
Mm-hmm.
So so was this a cause of when you were young? What brought on your were you always stuttering from a child, or did that suddenly occur? And were as a child, were you always a heavy person, or was that as you got older because of what you were going through?
So recently, I'm now in a relationship, and we went to meet my family, and my mother just brought the photo albums to my detriment. So my girlfriend was able to look at pictures of me being young, and I could see that starting 5 years old, 6 year old, I really became heavy, and you could see that I was fat. And that definitely took a toll on me because bullying, like, I think everyone has gone through bullying at this point. It's insane. And I remember that the lack of social skills came as a consequence because of that, because I didn't have many friends back then, because most of my social experiences had to do with me being marginalized or being other instead of being included. Then I recognized that whenever I wanted to be social, even while I was losing weight, my mind just went into panic mode, like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? What should we do? What are we supposed to say or act to avoid being going through the same pain that I went through before? And that's where the stuttering will come, that's where the sweating will come, that's where the looking perplexed and not being able to just enjoy things. I remember that going out clubbing didn't feel to me like it wasn't a fun activity to me. It was a chore. It was a conflict. It was something that was heavy because you could see me before going out, and it looked like a fighter about to enter a match. I was stressed
Oh gosh.
because it felt like a lot of things were on the line. Like, if I don't get a girl, a number, a kiss tonight, that means I fail. Damn, I look back at that today and it's crazy to me, but I can understand why I ended up feeling that way. I ended up believing that way, and it had to do with early experiences as well as gender mandates that were given to me, not just by those close to me, but
Mhm.
also by media,
Society.
society at large, etc.
Yeah, and this is why when we're looking at it, and I said, even I'm sure, I have a son, and I'm sure when he was younger I used to say, oh, you're a boy, you shouldn't cry, toughen up. And we do it not realizing that it has an effect on him. Luckily enough, I don't think it did for my son. But we do this, and we need to realize, women and society, that men are human beings, and especially when they're small, they're human beings and they have feelings. And when they fall over and cry, don't say, "Oh, your boy, toughen up." They're in pain. They need to express their pain and then say, "Okay, let's deal with it. Okay, is everything fine?" Then go on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not try and shut them down every time.
No, a big part of my story was reconnecting with emotion because my mind learned early on feeling emotion is not cool because I'm targeted and because most of the emotions I feel suck. So how about I just disconnect them, which is
Mhm.
what a lot of clients that I see today go through. And that meant that I think I had depression when I was a teenager, and I say I think because I would not just be numb. I didn't have ideas of suicide. I didn't have constant crying. I was more just neutral, gray. Everything feels the same. Everything's just um yeah, with the volume turned down.
It's almost as though you shut yourself off to stop the pain from the stuttering. And you said that with the weight and eating, and not being, you're being marginalized and not having a lot of friends, and being that, it for you to survive, you just had to shut that bit down and just get on with it.
I had to shut that down and find a place that could act as a refuge, which were video games. I was very into video games back then. I could spend hours and hours playing them. Why? Because it was easier to face that than to face reality, because reality hurt. Reality sucked for me. Why would I want to spend time there?
Yeah, yeah. And then, and you found that stage there was nobody that you could talk to. There was, as you said, you were the eldest of the children, so there was nobody. You couldn't talk to your parents, nobody around that you could feel safe with, I suppose, because being a boy,
Mhm.
you're told, you should be this. And there was nobody that you could talk to say, this is how I'm feeling. How do I overcome this? And that's so sad.
Yep. Yep. Like I think back on that time and I'm super thankful to the people that I were able to connect with that eventually helped me come out of my shell and show me that a different reality was possible. But I also recognize not a lot of people have access to that. Not a lot of people are able to connect with peers close to them that can help them just do the same. I recently wrote an article about the scars left by bullying on men, and I posted it in it was posted in different places, including Reddit. And I would read the comments, and it was insane just how much people resonated with the article, but also how some of them said they were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and still seeing the consequences of that pain of those scars, how they feel like they lost their true self and they're
Yeah.
just a mask there to appease others, how they fell into addiction, how they fell into depression, or it's very difficult for them to be social. And it's crazy because it's been decades after the fact that hurt them, but because they don't have the tools to actually properly do something about it, they just have to deal with the consequences for years.
So you said that there were people that I suppose you came across that then helped you. How did you come across these people in
Well,
order to super?
it was interesting. The very first one was an English teacher I had at a private institute, because since here English is not the first language, I remember my parents really forcing me to go to one of these places to learn the language, and I at the time didn't want anything to do with that. I remember I would on purpose skip classes because for some reason I hated that, and I was put in different classes until finally I was put into one specific class with an extremely good female teacher who was able to see what was kind of going on with me and prepare a space for me to eventually start speaking up and just telling jokes. I know I became the class jokester, so to speak, not the best, but for someone coming from being super shy to, hey, the stuff that you're saying is nice, it's funny, good on you. That was like, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I was able to speak my mind, I was able to be seen, I was able to have a good time with my peers. That started everything, for sure.
Okay, so from there, you started to come out of yourself because your peers recognized you and you made a connection.
Yes, especially with my teacher and then her husband, who was another Londoner, actually, a fun fact. And he was living there, and I kept studying with both of them. And we really developed a nice relationship for a couple of years, and I could finally find people to speak my mind to. And I could see them as well. They were very, very loud people, not in a bad sense, but in a really stay your ground, protect yourself kind of way. And that to me was exactly what I needed, because since I was so shy, since I had stuttering, since I had all this overthinking, whenever someone came at me verbally, I had no tools, man. I was like, ah, shit, what do I do now? That really changed things up, for sure.
Okay, so they gave you a sense not of identity because you are who you are, but they gave you a sense where you could speak up, that you had a voice, where you weren't afraid to stand your ground. They made you feel more secure and that you are worth something. Now, all that time when you were stuttering and everything, I take it that you felt unworthy.
I definitely felt socially less than my peers because I could see that. I could see them having friends, standing up for themselves, being able to date. And then there was me. And even the few people I associated with, sans one exception, they were also like the left outs. And I would consider myself smart. I could read the room in that regard. I've seen the movies. I see that there's popular cliques and there's nerdy cliques, and I was definitely in the nerdy one. And I was like, God damn it. All the things that I've learned not to be, not to do, I was
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
What do I do? What does one do in this regard? Well, what I did back then was look to the internet, trying to find ways of learning pickup, learning how to flirt, learning how to get women. And it was at the vogue of the pickup artist stuff, which kind of makes me cringe now that I think back about it. But at the same time, I'm kind of thankful because I needed that to be where I am today.
okay. Okay, so you've got into the class, your English teachers helped you, you've got to know the husband, so that couple really helped you to come get out of your shyness, to stand up for yourself, to have a voice. What happened after then? How did that now bring you into where you are today?
Okay, so that happened mid high school. I remember that then I changed schools and I vowed to myself to be different, to be much more extroverted, much more friendly, to try to actually secure social bonds. And I did just that. They taking advantage of the fact that nobody knew me there. I was able to not be my old self. That also helped a lot. Then the last 2 years, I changed schools again, and those those times weren't the best. But once I got into uni, then I kept that up, and I slowly, well, I had to hit some walls, especially when it comes to the dating aspect, to adjust some things in the way I related to others, especially to women. But eventually, and with the help of the friends I was doing along the way, I was able to really develop my sense for socialization, to understand what I wanted, how to approach other people, how to approach new people, how to read a room, how to recognize if someone was into me or not, how to create quality connections with others and not just something that's superficial or that we don't really know anything about the other person. We don't feel like we can confide on the other person. I started having female friends as well, which has been crucial and something I recommend everyone gets. But yeah, university was really a a moment where I was able to fine tune all that stuff again on my own because I didn't have a strong connection to people that were also very um, socially nuanced and good at the time. We were kind of all on the same bag in that sense.
Okay, so university made that change, and when you left, of course, that was your starting point. And you said earlier that you had a stutter and you're quite big as a child. By the time you got to university, I take it your stutter had gone. And what about your weight?
So, crazy fact, I would try to skip breakfast my whole time in high school to try to lose weight. And that didn't work. And the last year, I said, fuck it, I'm just going to eat normally because I'm tired of just suffering for no gain. And I started having breakfast. I started just balancing my meals without noticing. And that was key. And suddenly I was not heavy. I was maybe a bit chubby, but nothing close to before. Like you
Yeah.
could see me and say, yeah, he's average build. And that was insane. Of course, I was going to the gym. I started training, not with the same consistency as I have now, but definitely started there, especially my first year of uni. But the last year of high school was where most change happened because I just started having my 4 meals a day.
Okay. So this was a conscious decision of your for yourself to start changing because you wanted to make those changes in your life. That's good. So moving forward now, after uni and going out into the world, you became more assertive. You became, a stronger in your character. How did that lead you to becoming your clinical psychologist,
So
licensed
when yeah,
psychologist?
when I started uni and people would ask me, okay, what is it you want to study? I remember thinking at the time, dude, it's crazy that you're asking a 17-year-old what they want to do for the rest of their lives. I don't even know who am I gonna be in a year. Like, I that's insane. How does society think this is okay? It's
Yeah,
nuts. So I did the most logical choice, which was choosing something that was super flexible, that I felt no matter what I wanted to do in the future, I would be able to tie both of those things together. And that was learning psychology because the amount of spaces in which you can properly use psychology were insane. I remember I wanted to be a researcher, so getting into academia. Then I wanted to become a sports psychologist because I was very into sports. I was doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I was doing judo, I was doing lifting weights, I was doing everything. Then I wanted to work with eating disorders, not because I had one, but because I thought it was super interesting. And finally, I landed into working with men because I was able to look back at my story. I was able to see how my peers were doing. I was able to see they were doing much worse than I was. And I thought, this is important. We need to do something about it.
Lovely. So today you've done the courses, you've gone through, you've done the research. Now, as that licensed clinical psychologist, and having now clients come in after going through what you went through as well,
Mhm.
what do you find when you're having male clients coming to you? What do you find is the general underlying cause that they're coming to you with?
I think that emotional dysregulation accounts for 95% of the issues I see in my practice. Like, if the person knew how to regulate themselves emotionally on their own, they have no issues. They have no addictions. They have no shyness to speak of. They have no problems in relationships or in dating. They'd be fine. But at the same time, it's such a common issue because, like you mentioned before, since we're young, it's like that part of us is forbidden, is placed away. It's like, don't touch that. And we we could say that we have emotional muscles. The more we train them, the better we are at understanding things with nuance, at digesting things without the need of what I call external regulators like alcohol, tobacco, masturbation, etc., the better we are at understanding social dynamics, because social skills are a subset of emotional skills, not rational skills. Like, everything falls into place. And if you have a group of people that are forbidden from training those muscles, well, what do you think is going to happen when they need to use those muscles? They're going to fail. They're going to
Oh,
need extra help from the outside. They're not going to be able to do so on their own.
yeah, because they haven't strengthened those inner muscles, so they're looking for external things, as you say, alcohol, sex, whatever, physical
Mhm.
substitute for that. So when they come to you now, how do you help them to see these things within them, and how do you help them to cope with them?
Good. So I had to get very creative, but that's also, I feel, one of my biggest strengths because I went through the same things that they went through. I know how to speak the same language. And basically, I tell them I'm kind of like a sports coach. When you want to become bigger, when you want to develop more muscle, when you want to be fitter, you're not going to get deep into books to learn about how nutrition works, what the best exercises are about. Maybe you can, but that's going to take years, and you're probably already super busy. You're trying other avenues. You have a career. You don't have the time. You don't have the energy. You don't have the money. But you do have the money to hire a professional that you go to the gym to, and they tell you, okay, these are your goals. These are the exercises that are going to get you there. Try them. You do the exercises, you get results. Simple as that. Going to the therapist, it's exactly the same thing. You can spend years learning about mental health and the different mechanisms we have for understanding beliefs, understanding emotions, understanding social dynamics. Or you can pay a good professional that can tell you, all right, if these are your goals, these are the exercises you need to do. It's not just talking about things, it's proper structured exercises that develop the skills you were unable to develop and can change beliefs that are pushing you away from what you want to achieve. And then, lo and behold, you get results. Like that guy I mentioned before that in just a month, we were able to do mostly away with an addiction that he carried for at least 2 decades.
Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh. It looks like he's been carrying that again from his childhood, and this is what we're facing. Men are carrying these things, and they they're finding it so difficult. Augusto, looking
Mm.
from a practical point of view, okay, people come to you, but to my listeners who are watching, who are listening, what is it that we can do as individuals to help men, to help them to bring out or to talk? How can we, because we it's not, it's something that we all have to look at. I know as a mother and as a grandmother, whatever, how can we help to change these within our male children or even our male teenagers around us?
Okay. The best way that I can think of now is to reframe the narrative. Because currently, for a lot of people, the narrative is if you speak up about what you're going through, if you become vulnerable, if you go to a doctor or a clinical psychologist, it means that you failed. You failed this idea of being able to do with everything on your own. Really, that's the opposite. If you want to become stronger, you need to go to the places that can give you those tools. Kind
Yes.
kind of like going to a gym trainer.
Yeah.
Like, who is going to think that you're weak for going to a trainer, a personal trainer at the gym to have them properly train your body? Or if you go to martial arts to learn from a coach, nobody's going to say, oh, you were unable to do so on your own, you're weak. Same happens with our internal resources, our minds. Like the logical step, if you've been trying, something I really use is, have you heard about the definition of insanity?
Yes. Keep on doing the same thing and expecting different results is insane.
Exactly. So I get people that come here and they're a bit unsure because it's something new. And I tell them, all right, so you've been dealing with this problem, let's say an addiction, depression, general anxiety, whatever. For how long now? Years, usually. Okay, what have you tried? Well, I tried this, and that. Has that worked? No. Well, why wouldn't you try something new then? If you know that these things don't work, if you've been trying them for years, logically, you need to use something new.
Yeah. Something totally different. Something
Uh-huh.
totally different. So, as I
So,
said, how,
being able to,
no, go ahead, please.
yeah, continue. Okay,
No, I
so
was
what I was
saying
saying, as I said,
is to try
being able
something
to
new.
reframe.
And I was asking, how can,
Oh,
yeah, the narrative.
yes. Sorry, my now my Wi-Fi is breaking off, but whatever. The narrative means that if we're able to change these behaviors, like seeking professional help or being able to open up or similar into signs of strength, because objectively that's what they are, the more men engage in these
Yeah,
actions, the longer the lifespan is, the higher quality their life becomes, the more social bonds they have, the better relationships they have, especially romantically. Like the information is overwhelmingly in favor of this. The more we press these actions as signs of real strength, because that's what they are, the easier it's going
yeah,
to become um, when it comes to men reaching out, asking for help, finding these resources they need to put their life back where they want to.
yeah. You're absolutely correct because I think it's not just for the men to find it, but it's for us to understand what's going on, to be aware of it, so that we can encourage the men, children, teenagers around us to open up, to speak, and if not to us, then find somebody they can speak to. I mean, it's as you did at school, you had an English teacher, and I think people are becoming more aware, finding somebody they can talk to, and man who's a full adult, finding that help and encouraging and making them realize, as you said, to change the narrative. It's not a sign of weakness. It's taking your weakness and changing it to be your strength and to face those weaknesses. And it's like anything in life, if you don't face them and then try to understand them, how can you correct them?
Mm-hmm.
This is what it's about.
Yeah.
So you're doing this. Are apart from this is your genre, do you have groups that people can reach out to, or do you do one-to-one? How can people connect with you to get help? Because it is about, we've had the conversation, but it is about how can men reach out and get help? How can they connect with you?
Okay, so they can reach me through my website. That's manhelpingmen.com. It's manhelpingmen.com. They can fill out the contact form there, and I'm going to answer in a day, possibly. I'm also uploading there articles about men's mental health and what I see in my practice for anyone who's interested in reading more about the subject. Then, when it comes to, well, I'm part of an alliance between different colleagues from here that
Mm,
deals with masculinities, try to look at things critically, and tries to elevate just manhood and try to develop more tools for men in general. That's in Spanish, but you can look us up as Alianza de Masculinidades on Google, Facebook, etc. So I'm still looking for, still trying to develop groups in English as well, because, well, a lot of people that I meet are looking for those resources. And I met with one or two colleagues in the US, but I haven't yet found something that's very um, organized, centered, systematic that can really offer different solutions. I know
okay.
that there's, for example, an initiative called Men's Sheds that tries to bring men together in different places of the world, have them do activities and talk about mental health. So yeah, definitely my website, and you can find my email there, and you can just ask me anything. If you want papers to read about men's mental health, if you want advice, other therapists who are also looking to engage better with this um, demographic. I'm about to do a training for mostly US therapists next month about working with men clients.
Mhm.
And yeah, slowly we're trying to get get the news out there, get the
Yes,
idea out there that this is also very crucially important.
it is. It is so important. Can you just repeat your website again, please? Is it manhelpingman.com?
Yes, man singular, helping men plural.com.
Manhelpingmen, manhelpingmen.com. Okay, let me do that. So man helping men. Fine. Now, Augusta, before we say thank you, can you leave us with a nugget or two of advice for those who are listening in? Um, how they can how it can help them in their life, just some kind of nugget you can give them for a starter to help men to start on that road of seeking help, or what they can do.
Imagine how a sports coach behaves, cut off the verbal abuse, and use that persona to reinforce whenever a man does something that opens up, that shows that they are opening up, shows them vulnerable, shows them that they're considering getting help. Example, dude, it's great that you're thinking about that. It actually makes sense. Yeah, go for it. something that's encouraging, active, energetic, and it's not the usual maternal, I'm so glad you're doing that. I'm so touched by your actions. Because remember, if we've been taught to splice away emotions, those kind of approaches can be very off-putting. I remember that for me they were, but when I got people that were very active in their compliments and reinforcements, like, yeah, hell yeah, therapy actually logical, actually works, that will make the difference. That will really feel like, okay, I'm onto something here. So definitely try that out.
Thank you so much. I've listened to that, and that has even helped me. As you said, rather than said, "Oh, I'm so grateful," and say, "No, yeah, that works. Well done." It's that strong sense that, oh, that physical. Well done. Yeah, I've heard that works. Go for it. That positive
Yeah,
strengthening. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so much. That is a gold nugget. I love it. I love it. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use
okay,
that.
I'm happy to hear that. You're welcome.
Okay, to everybody who's listening, men, women, I hope you've enjoyed this series because it's something that you're going to hear me do a lot more of. We've got to bring it out to encourage our men. And for Augusto in Argentina, thank you so much for your time. And for all those who've been listening, we've got to help those men. Okay? Take care. Bye for now, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye. Thanks